Okay, here we go. This is this is the first of many, hopefully, of this. My name is Hunter West, and I am a senior here at Iona. And welcome to Western Star Movie Reviews. The title was simply just was just a name because of a certain truck that was featured in a film. And my last name is West, so I'm just saying that that's a little bit close to it. Um, Basically, the the whole point of this is just to for people who are into film and who want to watch movies, just giving you a heads up on what's recently coming out or what I have watched and review it. See movies on the weekend and then let you know how it goes. Today is gonna be different. I'm actually gonna be giving you guys a list of all the films I have seen and giving you an opinion on it. You can and most of these probably not a lot of you have ever watched, but some of these you probably have. Some of these are streaming, some of these are exclusively to theaters, and some of them I don't ever want to revisit again. But it's weird the fact that I have seen on my I don't know if you can see that, but no, you can't. I have ranked 47 films, if you can believe that. I have seen 47 films, and currently the list will go on, by the end of the year, and it's going to be interesting. So I'm just going to delete one movie here that I'm not going to. Actually, no, I'm not going to watch that one. I haven't seen every film of 2022, but just as a heads up, this is going to be ranking from the first weekend of January all the way to this last weekend, which I saw one movie last weekend. Now, most of these I've seen with my father because he's also a movie guy. I've seen a couple movies with my mother, and there's only one new movie I saw with my mom, and not with my father. So just letting you guys know that. So this is gonna be. I'm gonna rank all the films that I've seen today. That's just gonna be a little bit of a heads up and talk to you if you heard of it and not. Um, so yeah, so there's 47 films that I have seen, and remember, um, this is just personally my opinion, just to let you guys know. Um, I want to hopefully in the future start do film and review more of that. But just a heads up, this is my personal take on these movies. You don't have to, and I won't be ashamed in saying some of the movies I have seen. So that is the case, because some of these I've been looking forward to the most. So let's get started. So we're going to start out with 47. So let's start out with the worst film I have seen this year. And really by no contest, is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now this was originally supposed to come out in 2021. And the film got pushed back because of negative reception. So they decided to dump it on Netflix. And this movie it's really bad. Because the problem I have with hold on a minute. Yeah, okay. The problem I have with these types of films is the fact that if you're trying to, there are these films nowadays that will try to be like, oh, we're gonna erase everything that happened in a franchise and we're gonna do a direct sequel to it. They did that last year with, I believe, a Candyman movie, um, and they're doing it again. They did it twice. They did one movie which was in 2013, which I watched during the pandemic in 2020, which was really bad. But this was terrible. It didn't feel like if you guys saw the Halloween movie in 2018, it made a lot of money. They pretty much do exactly that. They take the character from the first one, and she's pretty much old, and she's like, "I'm going to kill Leatherface," and it just doesn't work because the problem here is that they waste that. Without spoiling, the last 30 minutes go completely off the rails and it gets worse and worse and worse. And every time I think about those last 30 minutes or even the whole film entirely, I just remember just laughing. because I could honestly see myself watching this again, but in a not good, laughable, like funny way. And so I can't. That is easily the worst movie of the year, and probably not a lot of you have seen it. A movie probably a lot of you also probably you have seen though. 46 is Morbius. If anybody knows, I'm pretty sure the majority of the people who go here saw Spider-Man No Way Home and saw the trailer for Morbius inside there. And every time I keep seeing the trailers, I thought, I don't know, it looks decent, it looks fine, but I don't have any faith in it. After watching the movie, clearly didn't have faith in it because it was easily one of the worst comic book movies ever made. It really is. It shows you that like this would have been a perfectly fine movie if it was made in the 2000s, like when comic book movies were starting to get back to get or starting to improve, and were finding their way to be successful. This would have been great in that time period. Although it's 2022 and we had films like, Marvel films, we had the Batman, which is coming up way later on the list. But the problem here is that it's so unnecessary to tell these villains and do it in a way. The director, no idea who he was. The writers wrote a film called Gods of Egypt, and if any of you look that movie up, you'll know it wasn't really good and it was a bomb in the box office. And this didn't really do well in the box office either. It made under $200 million, and it didn't work. And I could say the same probably if next year they just delayed Craven the Hunter starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. So I'm definitely nervous about looking at the future of these Sony movies. And I believe they also just had another one delayed to 2024, which is Madam Web, which stars Dakota Fanning. And so I'm definitely just a little bit pissed about this. The action wasn't good, the fight choreography was not good, the editing was bad. They edited a lot of things out of the trailer. There was supposed to be like a scene with a picture of Spider-Man, didn't work, totally ruined the film. And the post-credit scenes are some of the worst I've seen in years. So it's currently streaming on Netflix right now. And I looked at it, I was just like, ugh. A movie that also streamed on Netflix that I watched, which was definitely the worst comedy and worst way to represent high school, is a movie called Number 45, Senior Year. This stars Rebel Wilson as she is a cheerleader in high school. She gets knocked out of a coma, and 20 years later, she wakes up. Her friends are old now, and she wants to continue to pursue her last year of high school by graduating. And it is the worst comedy I have seen. Maybe one of the worst comedies I've seen, because I didn't laugh a lot. I actually didn't laugh. I don't think I laughed once, and I think it was a scene. I'm not even remembering the scene because it's easily the most forgettable. You'll see. It is not a movie that you need to watch. And the more you think about this, the more you're just questioning why. And high school movies nowadays tend to suck. And let's be real, because I don't think they understand, or people that understand how to make a good movie of telling it. A movie that just recently just came out on Netflix like a couple of days ago was a movie called Do Revenge, which I haven't checked it out yet. I'm going to this weekend, so I'll let you know um, about it later on next Wednesday. But the fact is, there's no real reason for these movies to be as bad as they are, because they're just not written by good people. Because there was three people who wrote the script, and the script was terrible. So not recommending that movie, Senior Year. And those are the only three movies I gave an F to. I do grading systems. I like letter grades. So yeah. Number 44, Orphan First Kill. This was a movie that was in select theaters. It's currently streaming on Paramount Plus, and you can buy it on digital. And when a movie has all those things, if it's streamable, if it's buyable, and if it's theatrical, they don't have faith in it. But apparently people liked it. I hated this. I saw it at Regal, okay, Regal Rock, because that's the only theater that they were playing it at. And midway through, I would say 30 minutes of this movie, my dad turns to me and he says, a D minus at best. And I agreed. This was a if you don't know the story of Orphan, pretty much the first movie was this family adopts this kid. She's not who they seem she is, and apparently she is actually she has suffers from dwarfism, and she's actually a 30-year-old woman who's a psychopath. This movie actually takes that and is like, we're gonna make it the central character. So everything you hated about that character in the first movie, you're gonna like in this movie, and you can't. You can't like that. And the problem with that is the same thing with other anti-villains. It's like, you're a villain. How am I supposed to root for you? You know, even though the movie's making me do that. And it was just so horribly executed. It got to a point where I almost thought it was going to go with the Texas Chainsaw, where it just got worse and worse and worse. But it didn't. It didn't get worse. But this is the type of film that you just do not you wonder why. And it's a prequel. This is pretty much saying, oh, this is how she got here. When nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for this. So yeah. 43 is Moonfall, a film that came out in February. Nobody heard about this movie because it bombed in the box office as well. Apparently, it's one of the biggest ones of all time right now. $150 million was spent in this movie, directed by Roland Emmerich, who directed other disaster movies. And you can tell it's just he's just doing the same thing. If you've ever watched like Day of Tomorrow, Independence Day, um, Armageddon, I think he directed Armageddon. No, that was Michael Bay. But it's the same movie. You get a disaster with cool special effects, but there's some bad special effects in here, a big budget, a talented cast, and bad dialogue and jokes because the dialogue in here is terrible. He wrote the dialogue and it sucks. This is the type of movie that would be better on streaming because nobody went to see this movie. I went to see it Sunday and there was like 2 people in the theater. Granted, this was a Sunday, so there's not a lot of people. And I went to a White Plains theater, and not that theater does not normally has much people in there at the same time, but still. This just shows you that nobody wants to watch another one of these disaster movies. And they're going to keep happening because, and he wanted to make a sequel. Why make a sequel to a movie that you don't even need to make a sequel for? And the point of this movie is straightforward. The moon is falling from orbit to Earth, and apparently aliens had to do it. But they use it, they portray it in the weirdest way, and then they try to set up a sequel, and it just doesn't work. So what are you doing? There's no reason for that to work. Number 42 is the 355. This I'm going to say this about this movie. Okay, I'm going to say this about the stream. 69meta.com. That is not what I want right now, but whatever. This is what I'll say about the 355. This is a female-led action movie. Now, I have no problem with female-led action movies. I actually think they're entertaining. The problem is they need to be handled by the right type of people. And last weekend, I saw The Woman King, which was... I'll talk about that later on. But when they're handled by good people and people who know how to direct a movie and how to write something and film good action sequences, then it's handled perfectly and the movie's good. But if it's handled badly like this had a bad script. This had like weird fight sequences. It was shaky cam, but it was weird shaky cam. Characters are useless. There's a talented cast in here. Penelope Cruz is wasted in this movie. The actors do good performances, but it's just like it's a waste of time. And this came out the first weekend of January, and it bombed. So I'm just gonna move this here. So I don't see people really gravitating towards this, and I'm not surprised that nobody went to see this movie. Number 42, or no, 42 was 355. Number 30, 41 is Pinocchio. All jokes aside, there's three Pinocchio movies. I haven't seen the animated one. I hear it's hilariously bad. And it's supposed to be a dubbed version of like a Russian movie, but this is the Disney remake version. And there's like a whole difference, like there's a whole like thing towards um like people are getting sick and tired of these Disney live action remakes. And honestly, I can't really tell. I mean, this is probably why a lot of people are disliking the Little Mermaid teaser, amongst many reasons, if you know what I mean. Probably not. But what I'm saying is that this was supposed to be Disney's attempt to recapture the magic of the original Pinocchio, because that original Pinocchio is kind of a scary movie. It's like the creepiness of this thing of like this boy turning into wood. It's not really creepy, but then you got the scene with the donkeys where the kids are getting scared of turning into donkeys. This movie takes everything that you love about that and it's like, no, we're just gonna make it stale, because that's what the point of these movie remakes nowadays are. Some of these remakes are just stale and they don't have enough magic. And that was my problem with The Lion King. Even though the movie made $1 billion, Aladdin, I didn't mind. Um, Mulan, half of Mulan was fine. But then there are other ones that are just bad. And this was one of them. This might be the worst one. Like this when audiences and critics don't like it, there's something up. And when your movie is directed by the legendary Robert Zemeckis and stars Tom Hanks and it's bad, something's going on. And Robert Zemeckis has not had a good hit in a while. So, and that's my opinion. Number 40 is The Man from Toronto. This is a Netflix movie starring Woody Harrelson, Kevin Hart. It pretty much goes as Kevin Hart is mistaken for this, pretty much he is mistaken for this assassin. And now he has to work with the man from Toronto, played by Woody Harrelson, while also trying to avoid anything else. And this is a stupid, dumb action movie with the worst visual effects I have seen. Like the visual effects that are shown in this movie with the explosions look like old 2005 video game cutscenes. It's bad. And it's stereotypical. The movie has some funny scenes, but it's just a generic action movie that I'm not going to watch again. The story doesn't make any sense. Some of the jokes don't land, and some of the action is there, but it's just like you see things coming from a mile away. It doesn't work. There's a lot of things that are introduced that don't need to work or that try to work but don't. And so overall, it's a Netflix. There's a lot of Netflix movies that I've watched that are not good. Number 39, though, is Jurassic World Dominion. Jurassic World Dominion. Like, and it's sad to put this movie, because I didn't like Fallen Kingdom, but it's sad to put this movie so low. And there's a reason. There's no point of this. Now, when I saw the trailers, I was like, this could be the best. This could be the best of the trilogy, the new trilogy that they did with Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. This could be the best one because they're bringing back the original cast to make it look like nostalgia is back. They brought back the same director from the first Jurassic World, but they didn't do anything different. They took snippets of the other movies, put it in this one. Like snippets of the dinosaur fighting in the Jurassic World, they put it in here. Snippets of like the corporate espionage in the Fallen Kingdom, they put it in here. The memories from the first movie, they put it in here. It's like there's nothing new. The editing is bad. Like the editing is all over the place. There's some good CGI in here. It's a big budget movie, but there's awful CGI in some other scenes. And there's two movies in one. The original cast that we love, their movie is about finding out what is going on with these locusts that have been injected with dinosaur DNA. Why? Why is this their main storyline? And then we have Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard who are just like, you know, doing their kidnapping plot and they're doing stupid things. So there's two movies in one and none of it works. So fortunately, and that's what many of the critics thought. because this has the lowest rating of the critics. I think that's like 29%. And I thought Valentina was worse. So maybe the critics are a little bit too harsh. Number 38 is Interceptor, another Netflix action movie starring Chris Hemsworth's wife. Is like in this sea location, and there's like these mercenaries who get attacked, and the movie like starts right away. Like, oh, these mercenaries, these terrorists are attacking this place, but they're American terrorists. I didn't care. I don't care. This movie was boring. It was a waste, and it didn't work for me. So I don't really have anything else to say. It's a forgettable action movie. 37 is a perfect pairing. Um, this was a Netflix movie this is the only movie that I didn't watch with my father. My mother and I watched this movie because I was like, you know what, whatever, we'll watch this film, and it's a new one, so I'll review. Why not? It's boring. It's a generic romance movie. Somebody from one place goes to another place, falls in love with a guy. There's drama that ensues. They fall in love, and then the ending is just like, oh, it's they're in love, so it's okay. It's we've seen this before so many times. We've seen it before done, and it doesn't need to be shown again. Number 36 is another Netflix movie, Me Time. Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart. Just they're good actors, their chemistry. It's just the story feels weird. This scene has a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes, so the critics are bashing it. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's as bad as what people are saying it is, but it's not good either. It's not a good movie either. So there's that. Um 35 is Fantastic Beasts. You If you're a Harry Potter fan, you know how I or you must feel bad for these movies for being this bad, because to be honest, the last two Harry Potter movie, the last two Fantastic Beasts movies have been terrible. Like the last movie, the one before the Secrets of Dumbledore was bad, and there was so much drama going on in this movie, like the allegation with Johnny Depp, if any of you know, and then there was there was uh the Ezra Miller situation, and this opened to the lowest weekend of the Harry Potter movies. Didn't even cross 100 million in the United States. That's how many people are caring about these movies. It didn't cross 100 million in the United States. That's bad. That is bad. So, and for a Harry Potter movie. So yeah, no, not a good film. 34 is the Bob's Burgers movie. There's some people who like this show. I never watched this show. So I watched this on Hulu. I didn't see it in theaters because this came out the same weekend as Top Gun Maverick. Clearly, we're gonna wait till Top Gun comes on my list, but um this was okay. If you're a fan of the show, you're gonna like and laugh at the jokes, but there was a couple of scenes I laughed at. My dad didn't like this movie at all because he's not a fan of the show. If there was a Family Guy movie, which I think there's in development, I would totally go to see that, and I would probably laugh my you know what off. But other than that, just didn't care. The voice acting kind of got me a little bit like, it's weird, it's awkward, it's cheesy, whatever. But it's something else, so whatever. Number 33 is The Princess, another movie probably none of you have heard of. It stars Joey King. She's pretty much this princess that's locked up in a tower, and she has to go all the way down to save her family, while this guy who she was supposed to marry pretty much kidnaps them, and his mercenaries have to kill her. It was I thought I was going to hate it, but it's fine. It's not bad. It's just it's on Hulu, whatever. You don't need to watch it. Number 32 is Turning Red, the first Pixar movie on the list, and unfortunately, the most overrated Pixar movie. I definitely can see, I definitely can see that people are, they are going at this, like appealing to like young kids with like the 13-year-olds and, about boys and growing up. Just didn't feel like a Pixar movie. The animation's there, the voice acting's there, the comedy's there. It's just the story just feels a little weak. And it's not what I'm gonna watch again. So it has one of the highest scores on Rotten Tomatoes for Pixar, but just didn't work for me. Unfortunately, a movie I have to put at 31 is Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder was coming off of the success of Ragnarok, and when you have a movie that comes off of that film, because Thor: Ragnarok is the top one of the best MCU movies ever. It's the best Thor movie, and my dad loves that film. And we both walked out of this theater, and we were just like, it was goofy. I saw a review that said like it's pretty much like a parody of Thor, and that's exactly how we can describe it. It feels like they took a lot of jokes and just ran and just like doubled it. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. There was a running gag with goats that just I just did not care for. I did not care for these goats. And Christian Bale gives a great performance in this movie. Like he owns being the villain. But there's not a lot to do with him. And if we got more of the butchering stuff, and apparently this movie was edited under 2 hours, one of the shortest Marvel movies, and you can tell there should be more. There's got to be more in this movie, but there isn't. And so for me, it fell way flat. And unfortunately, wasn't a movie I didn't enjoy. I gave it a C plus. I still like it. It's okay, but it's just a movie that disappointed me. It's easily my most disappointing film of the year because of the success of Thor Ragnarok. They brought back Taika Waititi to direct, and they brought back Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, probably the best she's ever been. Because I didn't care about Jane Foster in the other two Thor movies. They didn't do anything. So, and apparently it didn't make as much money as it made. It did really great opening weekend, better than Thor Ragnarok, but overall worldwide, I mean less than Ragnarok because people saw the reviews for this movie and didn't go see it a second time. Dropped a lot. 30 Minions: Rise of Gru. I mean, you know what? I can honestly say like I I don't think I had intentions on seeing this movie, but I kept seeing the trailers and like, this is funny. And then I don't know where it came from, but people came dressed as suits at the premiere. The theater I went to, um, there were people dressed up. It was packed. Kids were screaming because it's Minions. Everybody loves the Minions, and it made a lot of money in a world where Thor: Love and Thunder made less than Minions 2. That's crazy. Um, it was fun. I didn't love it. I know there's going to be a ton of people who are just going to hate this movie, who are going to be like, it wasn't for me, but it's fun. It's an anime movie. What do you expect? Um, Number 29 is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Again, this is a movie I am not ashamed of seeing. I watched because honestly, this was a reboot done well. It was self-aware of what it knew. It was a Disney Plus original movie, wasn't in theaters, and I thought it was pretty clever the way they made it self-aware about what Hollywood does to certain people and how it affects them in the real world. So I felt like that was a good idea for the story, and it was fun. It was funny. 28 Death on the Nile, way back in February. Apparently nobody wanted to see this movie because what is that thing called? What is the thing called where it's the biggest live event in sports? Oh, Super Bowl. Nobody went to see it because it's Super Bowl weekend. I mean, nobody's going to go out to the theater, rush to the theater to see this movie for Super Bowl. I mean, you could have moved it to like 2 weeks later, and maybe people would see it. But you waited. The problem with that is I don't think a lot of people saw it. But I'll tell you this: I had a good time with it. Was it cheesy? Was it boring? Yeah. Did I start to solve the puzzle way before the movie actually wanted me to? Yeah. But the performances were great. Cinematography is good. Um, it was fine. I enjoy myself watching Death on the Nile. You know, And apparently there's another one in development, which is great. Number 27 is Samaritan. This is an Amazon Prime superhero movie starring Sylvester Stallone, directed by Julius Avery, who directed a film called Overload, which is ironically my first ever movie seen at New Rochelle New Rock IMAX. It was my first ever movie, and I was blown away by the screen of how big it is. It is huge. That being said, my expectations were high because I know the director's capable of making a good movie. Sylvester Stallone is a great actor. It was fine. It's not, my opinion wasn't as good as Overlord. My dad did not like Overlord, so he thought this was way better. But still, I think that, again, performances were good, but it looked like it was made for TV. The villains, I didn't care about the villains. So, and it's streaming on Prime Video. And it's a shame it's on Prime Video because I think this movie would have been decent in theaters. So that's my opinion. So yeah, 27 is Samaritan. 26 is a movie called Day Shift, another Netflix movie. It's pretty much, if I were to tell you this, Jamie Foxx, and Dave Franco hunt vampires in LA. That's pretty much all you need to know. That's the movie. It's James Franco and Jamie Foxx. Or no, Dave Franco and Jamie Foxx hunting vampires in LA. And it is entertaining. It gets stupid, it gets cheesy. The villain is terrible. It's like it's a woman who wants to who's like a real estate agent, and she wants vampires to move in to houses that apparently she's creating like a sunscreen for these vampires to live, yet they don't bring it up at all. But it was a Netflix movie. It's passable and it's fine. I didn't mind it. 25 is The Gray Man. Now, this movie, if I were to tell you just these things, writers of Deadpool, directors of Avengers Endgame, stars Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans and Ana de Armas, you would think, oh, this is going to be a really good movie. Apparently, a lot of people thought it was a bad movie, but you know what? I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. It was enjoyable. The action sequences were really good, but when it comes to the story, it slows. It is a 2-hour movie. Should they have spent $200 million in this movie? Absolutely not. This is, I think, tied with Red Notice for the most expensive Netflix movie ever. $200 million is way too much. I think I understand why it wouldn't have done good in theaters because of that. But whatever. 24 is Ambulance. This is a Michael Bay movie that premiered in theaters, didn't do well in the box office. I thought it was fun. It was his best movie since like 13 Hours. And he's directed all the Transformer movies, which were bad. I still think that there are some entertaining moments in some of those movies, but the last film that he directed with the Last Night was terrible. But you know what? I digress. And I said, I think this movie is going to be his best film. And it definitely is. It's still not great. The camera shakes, the jokes still are weird, but the action sequences, the filming on location is really good. I really enjoy this movie. So yeah. 23 is The Lost City. This is a Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum comedy duo movie from Paramount that I got an early access screening to. Funny. It was funny. And this was a movie where it's like, I don't know. There's a big budget here. I don't know if it can do well. I don't know if it's going to be funny. Apparently, a lot of people really enjoyed it. And this is the type of comedy that does well in theaters. So, for anybody who wants to make a comedy, watch this. 22 is Metal Lords. This was a Netflix movie that was about these kids that have a band and they want to perform in the Battle of the Bands. And it's not what I expected, where it's like a lot of Easter eggs. Well, there are Easter eggs, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I thought it was fun. I laughed. It's rated R. There's a really dumb subplot about like this what is it? This one guy, this one bully. Okay. I didn't care. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. And there's some good cameos in it. 21 is Uncharted. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say Uncharted was a bad movie because it was a video game and it didn't look like the video game. I'm going to come clean. I didn't play any of the video games. I don't watch people play video games, which is what some reviewers have said. If you want to watch a good Uncharted movie, watch people play the video games. I don't do that. I really enjoy this movie. Like, it's on Netflix. Give it a watch. Tom Holland is great. Miscasted? Yes. Mark Wahlberg? Miscasted? Yes. But the one I got to shout out in this one is Sophia Ali. She is almost a clear image of Chloe Fraser, and not to mention, I've been binge watching a show called The Wilds on Amazon Prime Video, which if nobody has checked it out, I recommend you check it out. It's a great show. It got canceled on a cliffhanger. Like that freaking sucks. And I can't say the F word, but it really sucks, the fact that was canceled. But just shouting her out because she is great in that movie. The action sequences are good. It's overall a good movie. So now we're in the top 20 movies, and from here on out, it's going to be B to like A+. 20 is Bullet Train. This is a movie starring Brad Pitt. That was an action movie that came out in August. Fun, great cast. A little bit long, some cheesy moments, but funny. I saw it twice. I saw it a second time with my mother during cinema week where everything was like $3. She didn't like the movie. She didn't like the theater I chose. I went to Rich Hill, which I got some good reactions, from people. I liked that theater. But Bullet Train was a fun movie. I definitely enjoyed it. I think it made enough money to prove, yeah, it's a movie that did well in theaters. Number 19 is The Bad Guys. This is a Universal animation movie. Thought it was fine. Didn't have anything to see during the weekend of May, so I was like, you know what, let's just see this movie. I laughed. It was enjoyable. It was a good animation movie. It knew what it was. It was funny. The voice acting was good. It was just a little bit like, whatever. I'm not going to watch it again. 18 is Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Probably the most divisive movie because there are some people who love this movie, who think it's one of the best MCU films. And then there's people who think it's just and missed opportunities. Now, if you want to talk about like Sam Raimi horror for a Marvel film, this movie kind of has that. It's like there's some body horror, there's some creepy imagery, there's all the Sammy Raimi-isms with, you get the Bruce Campbell cameo, you get all these weird camera angles and shots. It's good looking. It's just that the story felt a little bit flat, and it didn't live up to expectations. And I think that's what Marvel fans need to stop doing, is living up to those expectations, because the thing with Spider-Man, they did it. Like, everybody thought, oh, he's going to be in the movie. She's going to be in the movie. They did it. This movie was like, oh, they're going to bring the person in. They're going to bring them. They're going to bring that group in. Didn't really do that. So, yeah. 18 is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I have no idea who this person is. 69meta.com. Just some random person. And they're just sending all these weird things in here. Number 17 is a movie called Triple RR or RRR. This is a Bollywood movie that's streaming on Netflix right now. And honestly, it's hard for me to review that film because, let's see. It's a Bollywood movie with some English actors in here. And there's two ways to review this. If you love movies, this is the type of film for you. It's over the top, it's cheesy, it's fun, it gets the job done, and it's entertaining. The problem is it's 3 hours long. And I have not watched a 3-hour movie since Avengers Endgame. And that was in 2019. So it's been 3 years since I watched a long movie like that. And number two, if you're judging this as a Bollywood movie, this is amazing. It's good. I really enjoyed the movie. I had a fun time watching it. It was over the top, but it was really good the way the action was filmed. Number 16 was The Adam Project. This was a Netflix movie done right. Stars Ryan Reynolds, Mark Ruffalo, Walker Strobel, who's going to be the new Percy Jackson. And it was about an older version of Adam going back in time to help young Adam. And it was great. I watched this with my mother. Oh, this is another movie I watched with my mother, and she got emotional. And there's a scene in here that will get you teary up. And it almost got me teared up. But this was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. And I think people should check this one out. Number 15 is a movie that just came out a couple weeks ago called Barbarian. You don't know anything about the trailer. The trailer gives you very little about the movie, and that's the best way to watch this movie. Because you watch this trailer, you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what's going on. It's like this woman moves into an Airbnb in Detroit, and there's this guy staying in there. It's double booked, but then there's a basement. It's weird. Something's there. And that's the best way to go into this. Because I did not expect anything going in this movie. And I've heard so many people saying, like, oh, it's a great film. It's a next evolution in horror. I thought it was great. Not awesome, but great. 14, another one I'm not ashamed to admit that I watched. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Um, I enjoyed the first movie. I think this one was a little bit better. A lot of jokes. Oh no, this was another one where the theater was going insane. And I think it was the same kids, like the same kids that were in that theater, who went and saw Minions. So I don't know. Maybe this will be the same kids. If I want to see the Mario movie that comes out next year, I don't know, but who knows? With that being said, they definitely hit the notes on this one, and they're already making a third movie, which comes out in December of 2024. I'm excited for that one. They did a really good job, and I was nervous because sequelitis, it's not that good, but this movie really did a good job of proving that we can set up a cinematic Sonic universe, and I'm really excited to see who they get to play. Um, who else is going to be the other hedgehogs? Number 13 is Lightyear. And this came out around the weekend of my birthday. I saw it on my birthday in the city in IMAX at Lincoln Square because apparently that screen has 1.43, which is how this movie was filmed. And they had scenes of 1.43 ratio, which is like 70 millimeter IMAX. It's the things that Nolan does. If you know Christopher Nolan, then you know what I'm talking about. But they had it, and it looked really. It's the first animated movie that I think has done that, and I think the only one that's probably going to do it if animated movies decide to go that route. But this was a good film. Now it did disappoint me. I love this movie. I just liked it, or I just thought it was good. It was great. Um, and this is the weakest of the of the Toy Story movies. So I give it that. I didn't like what they did with the villain, but the animation is great. The performances are great. The story is good. Just a villain didn't work for me. Number 12 is The Northman. This was a movie that came out in April. Um, it looked like this medieval epic, and that's not what this is. It is a gruesome, brutal movie that I think if you're into those types of indie medieval movies and you're like this movie, otherwise, eh. Um, I thought it was good, well shot, well acted, story was great. Just some points it just dragged on a little bit too much. That's all. And then number 11, this is where we're going to get into the A category. So A minus and above are all of these films. So number 11 is Scream. This came out in January. Really was nervous for this one because January horror movies, they suck. This was not one of them. This was well made, and it brought the Scream franchise into a place where now they're making a sixth one, and it comes out in March of 2023. So they already have another one coming out next March. So it's like, I think they know their style, and I think they know what they're going to do It just matters on how they handle that movie, because this is going to be the first one without Sidney Prescott. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but it's going to be interesting to see. So really enjoyed Scream. Um, so here are the top 10 movies of the year, in my opinion, for me so far. Number 10 is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. This was a Nicolas Cage movie that feels like a Nicolas Cage movie. It's starring Nicolas Cage playing himself, and he's invited to this party with Pedro Pascal. This was one of the funniest movies I've seen this year. This was a great time at the theater. Didn't make a lot of money, and that's unfortunate. But I really dug this movie, and I think that if you're a fan of Nicolas Cage, this is going to be great for you. And also, they made fun of Paddington 2 a couple of times, which I thought was funny. Number 9 is Nope, the new Jordan Peele movie, which came out in July. And this was the first horror movie to shoot with IMAX film cameras, and that's the best way to see this movie. That's the best way to see this movie. And IMAX 70 millimeter, which is Lincoln Square, which is the problem. I thought that the Regal one was like that because it has almost the same size screen. It's actually not. They don't feature 70 millimeter. They don't feature the 1.43 ratio. They only do normal and 1.9. So that's my opinion on that. Nope was brilliantly acted, well shot, well acted. I think I already said well acted, but the cinematography is not top notch. The tension's there. The stares are there. I think the only thing I had issue is there's a subplot with a monkey that goes nowhere, but whatever. 8 is Prey. This is a Hulu exclusive. This is a Predator movie, a Hulu exclusive that pretty much takes the Predator franchise, goes a little bit back in time before the first Predator movie with like all the weaponry they have, and they brought it back. You know, and if whoever saw the Predator, the Shane Black movie, it was terrible, and it didn't do well in the box office because of the negative reviews, and it was like, why? So I thought this was a great opportunity, you know, and I was nervous, but I knew the director had an opportunity because he directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was a great thriller, and this movie did really well for me. I really enjoyed this film, and I think that if you are a fan of these high concept thrillers, you're going to love this movie. Number 7 is Jackass Forever. That's the title. I'm not saying any words. That's the actual title. Johnny Knoxville. And this could have gone where this was unnecessary and it was stale. But this is a feel-good comedy. This is a laugh. This is the hardest I have laughed ever. Like, I almost pissed my pants watching this movie because it's that funny. Because it's just adults doing these pranks to themselves, and it works. This is the type of movie that works. And it was funny. And I recently watched the 4.5 version, which is like behind the scenes, or it's like takes that didn't make it into the movie. That was funny too. But this was a really good movie. This was a really funny film, and I hope it stays in my top 10. Number 6 is Elvis. My sister loves this movie. She bought it on Prime Video, and now it's streamable on HBO Max. So it's kind of a waste of money, but who cares? Austin Butler gives a great performance in this movie. He is spot on as Elvis, and he's not just an Elvis impersonator. He turns into Elvis himself. Tom Hanks is great. Baz Luhrmann's style really works in this movie. And this could have gone in a way where it's like they don't do the character right. They don't do the music artist right, and they could butcher it, but they did it perfectly, and I thought it was great. The only problem is it's 2 hours and 35 minutes, and if you do not like long movies, this might not be the movie for you. Just saying. There's apparently a 4-hour cut with him meeting President Kennedy, I think, and more of his ex-wife. Great. Number 5 is The Black Phone. This is a movie that came out the same weekend as Elvis, so I saw 2 movies in a row. This one I saw in New Rochelle. This is a great horror movie. And this was one that me and my father were excited for. And it was like, he enjoyed this movie a lot, which was shocking to me. This is from the director of Doctor Strange and a bunch of other horror movies. I think Sinister. It stars Ethan Hawke. He's having a great year with Moon Knight. This was a great film. Like, the kids are great. The scares are great. The acting's great. The atmosphere is great. You feel for this kid. You want him to leave this basement, and it works. So yeah, Black Phone, recommend it. Number 4, Everything Everywhere All at Once. This was an indie movie starring Michelle Yeoh. This was kind of like a multiverse movie, but not in the way of Spider-Man. Like, it's hard for me to explain, but what I'm trying to say is go watch this movie because it is awesome. Great acting, great performance, great story. And it's also kind of like the story of her connecting with her daughter, who you find out something happens to her in the movie, which I'm not going to spoil for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. But this is the type of A24 film that I like. And I don't like A24 movies a lot. This is one I like. Now, top 3. So, number 3, this speaking of the 3, when I was talking about the 355, I was talking about a movie that I watched that really knew how to make a good action movie, female led, right. The Woman King. This just came out, and I saw this last Thursday. Incredible film. I mean, incredible. And this was one me and my dad were clapping at the end with the whole theater. It was that good of a movie. And the point of this one was to kind of tell a story of like a historical epic. Viola Davis is incredible in this movie. The director, I forget her name, Gina Prince Haywood or something. She did a great job of this movie. And I wish we get more movies, more female action movies like this. Like this, where handled well, the action is great, the performances are great, the story is great, and every character matters and not something handled poorly, which is great. Number 2 is The Batman. Everybody knows The Batman. Robert Pattinson was great. And I got the early screening March 1st in IMAX at City Center. And this was a great film. Like this had an opportunity to be like, this could be the best Batman movie. It's the second best. The Dark Knight is still the best Batman movie. I really, really enjoy this movie. It's beautifully shot. Matt Reeves does a great job. And apparently they're working on a sequel, which I really hope we get a sequel to. And I just hope they don't ruin this universe because this was just a standalone movie and it works. Um, they tease a bunch of things and it's fine. So, the Batman 2. Number 1 is Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick. Um, this let me just say, Tom Cruise is probably the best action movie star of our generation. Actually, better yet, of all time. This guy, he has done the most impossible stunts. And apparently this whole movie was shot in like a cockpit. Like the fine sequences were shot on cockpits and they were shot like no CGI. I mean, it's really hard to tell if it is CGI, but it didn't look like CGI. And that's the best part about this movie. This needed to be seen in the theater. This needed to be experienced the way it was meant to be seen. And it was so good. It made $1 billion. It was Tom Cruise's first movie. It's $1.4 billion right now, the highest grossing movie of the year. That's not Doctor Strange. That's not The Batman. It was a Tom Cruise movie from Paramount, and it was a sequel, a legacy sequel that was worth the wait. And normally a movie like this would have sucked. Wouldn't have done great. But great buzz, great nostalgia, and it opened to $100 million. It was Tom Cruise's first $100 million movie opening weekend film. And I don't need another film. I have this one. This is the best movie I've seen all year. And this came out in May. My dad thinks that The Woman King is better than this movie, and I can see why. But because of the fact that Tom Cruise to this day is still doing these stunts, and I think he said that he's going to end the Mission Impossible franchise with 8, which comes out in 2 years. The fact that he's still doing these movies is incredible. It is incredible. The fact that he's still doing these movies. And that's great. So yeah, that is 47 movies I have seen this year, and there will be a bunch of others that I have to review every Wednesday, hopefully every Wednesday. And I hope to do this more. And there's some other movies that I'm looking forward to, obviously, throughout the rest of the year. This weekend, I'm going to see Don't Worry, Darling, the new Olivia Wilde movie that has been getting a lot of weird reception. I'm going to check it out. I'll let you guys know about it. The next weekend, there's a lot of other movies a horror movie called Smile, which I've been interested in seeing. Um, and then in October, you have Amsterdam, Halloween Ends, which is one of my most anticipated, Black Adam, and then in November you got Wakanda Forever, Black Panther. Really excited to see what they do with that one. That movie's going to make a lot of money. And then you have some other movies coming out on Thanksgiving, but then you got Avatar, The Way of Water. There's a lot of things to look forward to, and I hope that by the end of this year, I get to review all those, and then by the end of next semester, I give you guys my overall best movies of the year, and then the worst movies of the year, and then hopefully review some movies in the 2023 season, because I like doing this, and it works. So I think that's all, unless anybody in the chat. There's nobody in the chat right now. Unless there's nobody, there's just one person who's saying just weird things. But with that said, I think that's it. So this has been the first episode, probably of many, for Western Star movie reviews, and I hope to do more of these, talking about this with you, getting you, maybe I can talk to people about this, maybe some people who worked in the office, maybe some people out, hopefully. If not, I'll just give you my opinion, because after all, opinions matter, and this is my opinion. So there you go. So yeah, thank you for hopefully tuning in if you have, and I will see you next Wednesday.